Hi, everyone. If this is your second video with Michelle and I, welcome back. If you haven't caught Michelle and I's first video, please go check it out. We are here talking about how stress, particularly from relationships or a breakup, being stressed out from your ex, how those can all affect your lifestyle. And in video one, we talked about how stress can affect your eating habits. Sometimes people might reach for comfort foods or binge eat, or it could go the other end of the spectrum. Sometimes you're not eating enough or getting the nutrients you need to be really recovering and being healthy. So today, Michelle and I are here to give you another aspect of lifestyle that can be disrupted. But before, why don't we quickly introduce ourselves in case people are new to today? I have Michelle Sugiyama, and her company is Mindful Eating. So hello again, Michelle.
Hi, Emmy.
Welcome again, and just quickly tell us what you help people with.
Sure. I absolutely love to really help people reach their healthiest and best self. As I said, probably in the first video, you heard it again. If you're watching for the second time. With my experiences and training, like as a nationally board certified health and wellness coach, it just all fits together. Plus, I'm a chef. So it's just like, yeah, I love to help people on the nutrition side and also on other areas of wellness within that wellness wheel we discussed earlier. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, perfect. And the reason why Michelle and I wanted to come together on these videos is I'm a breakup coach, and so a huge part of recovery and getting healthy is managing your lifestyle. And so today we are going to talk about how this overwhelming stress can affect your sleep cycle. And so, Michelle, do you want to kind of start off by giving some examples of how our sleep can be affected?
Sure, absolutely. I've been through a huge breakup or multiple breakups in my life. And I recall back in the day just, going through these emotions, laying in bed and stewing about stuff like what I could have done, what I should have done, and just not being able to sleep. Right. And so the problem is when you can't sleep and you're going through all these emotions, you are biochemically, right, in this swamp. Right. It's just everything's like, and you're not sleeping, so you're not healing your body, which is so important to have that good amount of sleep. And really, if you're anywhere between the mid 20s to the early 60s, you want to get at least 7 hours of sleep. And this is just quantity, right? I'm not even talking about quality. Quality is so important too. We need to get in that stage N3 non-REM deep sleep to really be able to function both physically and mentally.
Yeah, and I think so many people can hear that statement and be like, "Oh boy." Either they're not getting enough hours of sleep or it just their sleep is completely disrupted. And so we're here today to talk about some tips of how you can potentially improve your quality of sleep and also even fall asleep in general. Sometimes, like you said, people are up for hours before they can even get to that point. So, why don't you take it away and give us
Yeah.
some
So
of
I think, well, I'll tell you later what a great resource is for people to really look at all the tips for good sleep, quote unquote, hygiene, right? It's called sleep hygiene. And I think when it comes to food, one of the things that you can do is to not eat really close to bedtime. So at least 3 hours before you really want to get to sleep. And the reason is because our body goes through a digestion process, right? And if there are some foods that maybe give you acid reflux, right, you're just not going to get good quality sleep. So I'd say the first tip is, just be mindful of when you're eating that last meal. Then be mindful of, do tomato products give me acid reflux during the night? Another thing is, we all think about caffeine. Right? Don't drink caffeine, maybe late in the afternoon, early evening. But the other thing, which we don't always think about, is alcohol. So alcohol can help us get to sleep quicker sometimes, but then our quality becomes very poor. And that's because we're digesting, and our liver's working extra hard to detoxify that alcohol. I think another big tip is to not expose yourself to blue light very close to bedtime. So, at least an hour, 2 hours if you can do it. So, cell phones, computers, television, because it really excites the brain cells and we just can't get to sleep. And I don't know about you right now, but one of my favorite Netflix shows is Ozark.
There has been a binge in our household of that
Oh,
previously.
Netflix binging. But I've noticed that and it's kind of a dramatic, physically violent show on top of that. So I'm exposing myself to blue light plus all this drama, right? And I can tell, and my husband said the same thing. He's like, I can't get to sleep, or I don't sleep well when I'm watching TV too close to bedtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, I am definitely guilty of all of those things in my past and still some of those things for sure. Anybody who is like really close to me knows that I am pretty much addicted to popcorn. And so especially when I was in like that state of stress when I was in between all my breakups and that roller coaster relationship, I mean, I would eat full on, like the pre-popped bags that you buy at the store. I would eat a whole bag every single night while watching Netflix. And then, wonder why my sleep was disrupted, or I wasn't feeling rested the next day, right? I mean, we know that these things aren't good for us. And we kind of covered that in our first video together is, reaching for that comfort. And for me, the popcorn was just that comfort. And it was also a habit because I had gotten into this habit and routine of every night I would sit, binge and also eat popcorn with that. So again, going back to your company name of mindful eating, it comes back to this whole idea of having a mindful lifestyle. What's going to set you up to have that restful sleep, to be able to fall asleep. And it might be a little bit of work in creating new habits and routines for a little while.
It does. It does take work to create new habits and healthy lifestyle routines, right? And for me, it's like baby steps, right? If you just take a couple baby steps, one at a time, right? You've got to crawl before you walk, you got to walk before you run. And that way it really becomes cemented as a lifestyle versus trying to, do all these different things and then all of a sudden nothing sticks, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it's too overwhelming, if you try to make too many drastic changes all at once, it's something you're probably not going to stick with. So like an example is instead of, binging on a whole bag of popcorn every night, having a cup of that chamomile tea or lavender tea that's decaffeinated that also has herbs that, might lull you into more of that relaxed and, sleepy state. But you're replacing, so it's not like you're depriving, right? You're taking out one thing and you're replacing it with another has also been a strategy of mine that I've felt helpful.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think, not depriving yourself is so key because deprivation can cause overindulgence. So
Mhm.
if you deprive yourself of your favorite treat, let's say, eventually 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month later, it's like full bore. You're all
Yeah,
of a sudden, okay, I quit eating ice cream and all of a sudden I'm going to eat a whole, half a gallon because I haven't had it for a month. So if you, are mindful of portion sizes, which is so important, right, then that can be helpful too. Like for, the popcorn example is excellent. You because we grab for these foods because out of either conditioning, like we've conditioned ourselves to do that, like when we're in a stressful state, we condition ourselves to grab food, right? Or we condition ourselves to, do something else. But anyway, for popcorn, look at to see on the bag what is one portion, one portion.
it's so tiny.
I know, right? And then if you're used to a whole bag, then just taper it down, right? Taper it down.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start out with, 1.5 portions or two, and then just get it down, right? And then maybe then you can transfer to just a cup of tea. But sometimes, that drastic move is I don't know, it's hard. It is so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard, but it's also a part of the habit. It's like, what have you trained your brain circuits to expect and to want to do? And so sometimes by doing that replacement method, you're still doing the habit, but with a different thing that might not be as unhealthy.
Exactly.
Um,
Oh, and I wanted to mention, so the web site
oh yeah,
for sleep tips is sleepfoundation.org, sleepfoundation.org, and it's an excellent resource for all sorts of sleep hygiene tips. So if you want to check that out, please do so. Um,
awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
that sounds like a great resource. I'm sure so many people could benefit from having more quality, more hours of sleep. That's really the chance when our body gets an opportunity to regenerate and to heal, and to like leave you feeling fresh and rejuvenated for the next day. Before we go, one thing I also want to kind of offer as a practice, if people are too over emotional at night and they feel like they can't fall asleep, I suggest doing just like a quick bullet journal. Keep it next to your bed, and you could do lots of different topics. You could do just a quick gratitude list. You could do a quick list of intentions that you want for yourself to experience the next day. You could even do a list of like what went well for me today. But basically priming your brain away from that downward spiral, repetitive, broken record loop thinking into something that's going to serve you and lead you into a more peaceful state.
absolutely. Those are great tips. And then also deep breathing exercises.
Mhm.
Oh, so relaxing, where you just do this deep diaphragmatic breathing. A lot of times when we're stressed, we have these shallow chest breaths. But if we focus on, pooching our belly out and having that air come all the way into our diaphragm. So when I coach people to do deep breathing exercises, I say, put one hand on your chest, put one hand on your belly, and see if you can pooch that belly out versus like having your chest pop out. And then one method that is quick and easy is called the box breathing method. So think of a box, right? So you have 4 counts in. So 4 counts in, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts. And then you can do simply maybe 3 reps of that.
Mhm.
Right? And then you're just going to feel so much more relaxed. I mean, breathing that fresh air in is so peaceful for your mind and your body, right? That you can come to more of an even state, right? Instead of when we talked about in our first video, walking to kind of de-stress us, right? Breathing is that way when you're not doing physical activity. It
Mhm.
just helps you to become more relaxed.
Mhm.
And you can do it sitting down, you can do it laying down. If you're doing it sitting down, you can, a lot of times you find your shoulders start dropping because a lot of times we keep our stress in our shoulders and notice your shoulders start to drop. And then when you're laying down, it's just like, you kind of feel like you're almost sinking more into your mattress.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things is that you can even tell yourself that you're doing yoga because it's one of everyone's favorite poses at the very end, Shavasana, right? When you get to just lay and relax and breathe. So there you go. You're doing your yoga for the day.
Right, exactly.
All right, Michelle, we are going to be back again with one last video on some tips around how to manage and cope with overwhelming stress in your life, from relationships, breakups, you name it. We're going to be back with another lifestyle tip in the next video. So you can check out how to get in touch with either of us in the post notes.
All right.
Okay. See you next time.
Okay.